God.
Steve Jones, and that was Yen Shepard.
Yes. I think that's Chunky, and my eyes are bleeding, man.
It's actually Chucky, not Chunky.
Didn't I say Chucky? Oh, Chunky. Yeah, Chucky, right. Oh my God,
Yes.
Chucky. See, Chuck E. Cheese's.
Wait.
Okay, I'll share one right now, and that's Chucky. He makes my eyes bleed because when I was a little kid, I saw The Shining, which was, crazy scary, and one should not watch that as a little kid. And I've had a fear of dolls from watching all sorts of crazy scary movies when I was a kid. You know what? Clowns too. Clowns are the scariest freaking things to ever live. Like, I don't care if you like super gory films, right? You know, whatever. But the basics, if you go back to the basics, like just regular clowns or dolls, that shit is the freakiest. That's good.
Coming off, mostly because I need to drink beer. But
I'm sweating. I get so hot under there. These things do not come with any sort of air conditioning or ventilation. Yeah, no little fans, or they don't come with any of that moisture wicking fabric that you might find, in some sportswear.
Right. That's why you got to tailor your Halloween costume to be more makeup on your face than mask, because the mask has to keep coming off. You can't breathe with it or barely see where you're going or anything, right? So
right, exactly. And we live in California. It's hard enough to breathe with the smoke and stuff, and these little masks that we have to wear for COVID. I mean, it's tough. It's tough with all this shit. And I realized, Steve, I don't know if you know this right now, but there's like some weird, crazy ass dead guy behind you.
What? Oh, that's just Charles. So
what's up with Charles? How did he get in my house?
Well, you haven't been feeding him, and he's really taking it personally, I think so.
Oh, poor Charles. I didn't recognize him. Oh my God, I feel bad. That's it. I'm not accepting any more pets in my life. He used to be my neighbor. He'd come over all the time, and I forgot to feed him.
Yeah. Well, it's how it goes. So I chose this costume, by the way, for Halloween this year because my son is going to be Pennywise, and his brother is going to be Georgie from the movie It, and and I was like, you know what? I was toying with, like, do I even dress up? Do I do it? Maybe for a second I was going to be Elvis. I was like, that would be a cool costume, right? But then I was like, my kids won't appreciate it, and this is about the kids. And what do my kids want? My daughter is going to be some demonic something or another. That's a joint costume with her best friend, and so I'm like, you know what? I'll go child's play, and I'll be Chucky. My son was Chucky when he was 4 years old, and he was a brilliant Chucky. It was great.
I think I saw photos of that, right? You shared that. I remember that.
Yeah,
that was pretty epic. Pretty epic. You know what? I've got to hand it to Stephen King. He's an amazing writer. He's pumped out so much quality content. I have no idea how he gets it done. I won't see his shit because most of it is creepy. I think I saw Pet Sematary. I barely made it through that film, but I will never watch it.
No, you're done, huh?
So don't tell me about it. Don't send me any photos. I will not sleep.
Atticus will tell you all about it. Just watch out. So,
okay. Let me know when that's going to happen so I can wear, earplugs.
Yeah. So I want to share who we have on the program today. Steve Conte. I interviewed him earlier today, actually, and he's from New York Dolls and Michael Monroe Band, Steve Conte Band as well, and we talked for an hour about everything he's got going on, and we had such a great conversation. It was awesome to dig into that, so we'll get into that a little bit. He has a new album coming out on November 5th called Bronx Cheer, which I recommend, and really amazing guitarist. So we'll chat with Steve in just a bit. But before we do, Jens, big news. We've been waiting 9 months for this moment. Opening duck hunting weekend happened this past weekend.
That's right. And that wasn't the only thing that happened this weekend. We had what was called a, oh, Jesus. This is something, I don't know
Jesus.
if this is, I don't know if this is something that's been around since forever and I've never, heard about it on the news before, but this wasn't just like a regular storm. This was a atmospheric river that dropped some kind of atom water bomb on us.
It was nuts. It was a torrential downpour, and it was insanity. And yeah, and most people bunkered down and stayed in their homes. You lost power. You're sitting in the dark doing who knows what.
Right.
Yeah, I decided, what's more fun than going and standing in that for 5 hours out and trying to hit ducks, right? So
right. You know what?
That's what I did.
Tell me about that experience. Tell me about that experience, because you're absolutely right. I mean, the wind was blowing like crazy, but that was after you came back, because that was on Sunday, right? So you were hunting early Saturday morning.
So I hunted Saturday and Sunday.
Did you stay there the whole time, like 2 nights?
No, I came home Saturday. So I slept in my car Friday night. So 2 buddies and I hung out on Friday most of the day, from like 11 a.m. on, and hung out. We, cooked some burgers on a little grill and dogs and stuff, and just hung out for the day, slept in our trucks, and then went out and hunted Saturday. And that was a really productive hunt. We got a great spot out at Grizzly Island, which was surprising. There were so many people out there. It was packed, right? But we got a great spot. And I had a milestone moment where I'm going to share some pictures here. But for those that are watching on YouTube, I actually brought in my first Drake Mallard, which I'm going to share right here.
Dude, this is epic. People need to appreciate this, because Steve has been longing for his first mallard, right? I mean,
yes,
you have been like waiting until that day where you finally hit your first mallard, and you not only bring it down, dude, you bring it down on the first day or first weekend that you're out duck hunting.
First day of the season.
First day.
So yeah,
sweet.
Yeah, I've been trying. Yeah, it's a common bird. It's not super uncommon or anything, but it's a tricky bird to get. You have to be in the right place a lot of the time, and so I just haven't shot one yet. And this one I took down on that first day, along with a spoonie, and my buddy gave me 2 other spoonies as well. That's all meat that goes directly to the sausage pile for making duck sausage at the end of the season. And I shot that Drake Mallard right in the eye. I
was gonna ask you that, dude, because when you originally sent me that picture, that's exactly what I thought. I'm like, did Steve shoot this poor bird in the eye?
Perfect. Like, it was perfect.
I know you don't have any control over that kind of thing, but I couldn't tell if it's obviously dead, and maybe its eye, was kind of looking real dead there, but I mean, it looked like it got shot in the eye.
It did. Yeah. It came around, and I spun around behind me. So I shot it behind me and took it down, stoned it. It was not flapping at all. And what sucks is I shot another Drake Mallard a little bit later in the day, that was out right past our decoys. And I, like, it was flopping, and then, and I shot it twice more as I was going after it and everything, trying to take my buddy John's hunting dog, Zoe, with me to make sure we got it. And then it disappeared. It just disappeared in front of my eyes. And it's one of those where it plops underwater and it goes, and I don't know, it goes to hide somewhere or something. I don't know. It disappeared. I couldn't find it and couldn't get it. So that sucked. But you would ask, so that was a fun hunt, right? With my hunting out with my buddies, they both shot 7 birds. That wasn't my goal. I'm not that great of a hunter. I'm trying, but I haven't limited yet, but I got my mallard. That was one of my goals for the season, and to shoot more birds than I shot last season.
This was a good haul for you.
I'm happy with 2 birds to start out with of my own, and 2 of my buddies' birds.
Absolutely. Just kind of, if we do like a we go back in time and talk about last year, we had some stories to share about you being really frustrated because the birds were a no-show, and you're like,
Well,
I couldn't shoot anything. There was just nothing there.
that was day two when I went out and in the monsoon, and I went out, pretty far. I went out a mile out. I biked out. I had my decoys, my sled, my stool, my blind bag, everything on my back. Right as I'm biking out in this monsoon, a mile deep, to the spot that I wanted. I got the spot that I wanted and everything. I set up my decoys. And honestly, I had 3 birds land in my decoys that I should have shot, but I missed or something because they picked up and flew away. And most of the other birds were not interested in what I was selling. They just zoomed off, south into the wind, and weren't stopping for nothing. There were a lot of birds out, but they did not. Not a lot of them were working to come in and let me shoot. So I didn't bring anything home the second day, which was a big bummer. I was pretty frustrated, but I mean, it's always great to get out, but you want to have something to speak for, right?
Yeah, it's always that good feeling, to bring home something. But hey, you can't be too hard on yourself. Don't blame yourself too much. There are always other variables that are out of your control. But one of the big challenges here, that we've got to appreciate was COVID-related ammo shortage.
Oh yeah.
And you were able to score some shots.
Right? I was able to get some ammo before season. Luckily my buddy let me on through a tip of a place that had some, and I got the last case that they had. Luckily, so I'm good for the season, which is great, and don't have to worry about that at all. But until next season, at least. But
and hopefully next season it won't be such a pain.
Hopefully, so it was a good hunt. So I was happy with how it worked. I think we should bring our guest in, Jens.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. So like I said, Steve Conte's new album, Bronx Cheer, comes out November 5th. We're going to talk a lot about that, as well as his other bands that he's been a part of, working with his brother, John Conte, who's also been in a number of his bands, almost all of them, and so much more. So let's go ahead and let's bring on Steve.
Welcome, Steve.
Rocking and rolling.
Hey,
Steve,
how you doing, man?
I am good. It's nice to chat with you. It's our Halloween episode, so I got the decorations going a bit, but yeah.
You? What's your decorations? Let's see. Oh yeah,
exactly.
All right, I see the pumpkin. All right, good. I just got my usual studio mess here. Pianos, guitars, microphones.
Yeah. Is this where you do it? This is where you do all the work. Do you write in your studio too, or?
Yeah, I write in here, and I've written and recorded a lot of Bronx Cheer in here, my new album.
Nice.
A lot of the acoustic guitars and quiet, little stuff like stuff that's not gonna. This is my home, So I have neighbors upstairs. Luckily, I have on 3 sides of me, I have nothing. I have 2 windows that go to the outside, and 1 wall is my wall. I just have an upstairs and downstairs neighbor, so I'm respectful. I don't crank up the Marshall in here. I have a studio in Manhattan. I live in the Bronx, so I go to Manhattan and I record all the loud guitars. I did all my solos and like loud rhythm parts there. And here I did like the acoustic, the 12 strings on Flying, and the acoustics and nylons, ukuleles, and mandolins, all kinds of stuff in here.
Yeah, and you've been in the Bronx for about 5 years now, right? Like
6 years, yeah.
6 years, yes. So how's that been for you?
Loving it. Even inspired me to name my new album.
Absolutely, yes.
I never thought I could get along with that. I lived in Manhattan 30 years, so I never thought, what would life be, outside of Manhattan, And I used to joke, there was a commercial that said, like, we're bringing you the world outside New York. And me and my friends used to look at each other and go, there's a world outside New York?
Yeah.
It's still technically New York City, but, I'm up, 20 minutes or 40 minutes on the train from Midtown Manhattan. So, but at least I can still take the subway. And I look out every window, I see trees. I don't see a brick wall anymore. Like when I Manhattan, Where are you?
I'm in Napa, California. So,
Oh,
uh,
you have a very different
uh,
day-to-day, scene out there if you look out your window.
oh, I got a good view out my window too. I see the vineyards and
Beautiful
everything.
vineyards. I was gonna
Yeah,
say, lucky.
yeah, yeah. It's pretty nice. It's and got some good space for the kids to run around, the dog and everything too. So it's no complaints here for sure, except on the fires and everything that happen. But
Yeah,
you know,
oh, man, my heart goes out to you for that.
hey, you make it through what's thrown at you, right? So yeah,
Yeah, every place has got its stuff. I mean, we got flooding here, and people have died in basements recently in Queens. Due to these floods and rainstorms, and I mean, the climate change is affecting everyone. In fact, I just did a public service announcement for this climate change. What do they call it? They just sent me a link to it. Anyway, people can find. I think it's climate justice or something or other. You can tell I'm very passionate.
yes, you're very.
I am really passionate. I am really passionate about it. Because the kids. It's not about me. I mean, how many decades do I have left here? It's like I have a 5-year-old son. He's going to be alive hopefully for another 80 years.
Yeah.
Who knows what we're leaving the next generation? If people, they're just thinking about themselves and the money right now, and they're not even thinking about their own kids. Unless
Or even their kids, right? Like, I mean,
yeah, unless they're going to send they're going to send their kids to space or something.
right? Yeah, we'll inhabit Mars by then, right? So yeah.
Yeah. So they think. Meanwhile,
Yeah.
they won't be around to know. Oh, it's called Music for Climate Justice. Let me see if I can find this and stick it up to the screen. And yeah, I'm not finding it. Sorry, folks.
You're good. You're good. So I mean, let's start with Halloween because this is Halloween week. I mean, do you have any plans for Halloween this year?
Taking my kids trick or treating.
That's the way to do it. Yes, because you can do it this year, right? So
yeah. In fact, we'll do that, and then I'm going to jump right on a plane and fly over to Finland to record a new album with Michael Monroe.
Oh, that's awesome.
No rest for me. I got a new album. My new album won't even be out yet, and I'll be going and starting to record another one over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does Michael live in Finland?
Yeah, he is Finnish.
Okay. Yeah. So tell me, I mean, do you each time you work with him, do you always go out to Finland to do it? Have you ever done it virtually, like sending files back and forth, or?
For demos, yeah, but for the records, we always go to Finland. There's also like benefits from actually recording in Finland. Like the Finnish government is really good about supporting artists, unlike the American government. So
yeah,
you can actually get sponsorship grants and stuff like that if you record your album in Finland. So we do the recording there and mixing there, and I don't think we've ever recorded an album anywhere else. Oh, we recorded in Sweden once.
Yeah.
Actually, the album Horns and Halos we recorded in Stockholm.
Nice.
But then we mixed it in Finland.
Go back to Finland for the mixing. Yeah. What's a memorable Halloween for you? Do you have a costume that you like to dress up in? Or?
I'm pretty lazy these days. Like I've been wearing the same costume for the past like 5 years, which is basically like a big top hat, big black top hat, like a Dracula cape, like a high collared black cape, and then just whatever I do to my face. Sometimes white makeup, a little blood dripping, whatever. That's it. Basically, that's my costume. Cape and hat.
For a couple years, I did Bowie from the Labyrinth. Here, I'll show you. A picture of that.
Oh, right. Oh, look at that.
Yeah. I did that before he died, actually. So that was a couple years back. But kids are pretty into the movie, so I went with it. So
nice. I don't think I ever really got that into costumes. I remember when I was a kid, I was Gene Simmons one year. That was probably my best outfit ever. I had the whole tongue thing down, and my hair was all one length, so I could do the samurai thing, and it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Let's talk about when you were a kid, because I'm interested. I mean, I know you started getting into music really young. Tell me, what music were your parents playing in your household when you were a kid? What were you listening to?
We had the first music I remember hearing at home was like the classics, like Tchaikovsky, Beethoven, all that, and at the same time, all the great jazz and jazz singers like Ella Fitzgerald. My mom's a jazz singer.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I grew up hearing Billie Holiday, Ella Fitzgerald, Nancy Wilson, not the one from Heart, but the jazz singer Nancy Wilson,
Hmm.
Sarah Vaughan, um, Carmen McRae, all and Sinatra, Tony Bennett, and then my dad had like a lot of the players like Miles and Wes Montgomery, who was my big guitar influence, which I didn't realize until much later in life that it was all sinking in there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and he even had some Coltrane, but he didn't really put that on too much. We had Cannonball Adderley, um, so and big band stuff. My father was really into big bands, Stan Kenton and this kind of stuff, and a lot of Sergio Mendes and the Brazil '66 too. And then we got like pop records kind of slowly came in, but they were more like soft. Like we had some early Dylan, and we had Simon and Garfunkel. Bookends is one of the first albums that we had in the house, I remember.
Nice.
And then I heard the Beatles' Revolver, and it was all over.
It's done from there, huh?
Yeah, my
that's
fate
awesome.
sealed. I wanted to be Ringo, and I became a drummer, and
Yeah.
it,
When you were 7, you started on the drums, right? Like, I mean, really young.
yeah.
Did you have your own set in the house?
We built the kit little at a time. I had first my father bought from a friend of his. He bought a Ludwig snare, a gray pearl, beautiful, and a couple of Zildjian cymbals and a kick pedal, but we had no bass drum. So I set the kick drum pedal up to bang on the case, the trap case where all the stuff was stored. That was my bass drum, and I played between. I had no hi hat either, so I played between the snare and the cymbals. But mainly, I was doing like rudiments and like learning, reading out of books. Left, right, left, 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 right, right. Paradiddles and all that kind of stuff, like the rudiments.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until we were living up in upstate New York in Buffalo at that time, when we moved to New Jersey, about 50 minutes outside of New York City. And my brother was a guitar player. Well,
Yeah.
he was a year younger than me, so he was taking guitar lessons. And I picked up his guitar one day after I'd been playing. I was about 11 by this time. I'd been playing for 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 5 years. Starting to get pretty good. I started taking lessons. I had a full kit by then, and I was playing, Ringo stuff and Charlie Watts and Bonham, and then I picked up my brother's guitar one day and realized that I could write songs. I had no idea what I was doing, and I was like, "Oh shit, I can write songs and sing, and I can't be stuck back there behind the drums. I got to be up front." So I switched to guitar, and in about a month, I got better than my brother. And he said, "Hey, how about this? I'm switching to bass." And that was the best thing that ever happened to both of us, because he's an amazing bass player. And I was meant to be a guitar player and a singer and not a drummer. So, but,
Yeah.
luckily I had that foundation in rhythm, and I think that's an important thing.
And I imagine your parents were super supportive. I mean, I talk to anybody whose parents let them play drums, from early on, and they gotta either be crazy or just super supportive, right?
You got to live in a house, not an apartment.
Right, that too.
Yeah, they got me lessons. I mean, in fact, my parents split up probably when I was 12, and that same year, we were really poor, and actually, on welfare and all sorts of public assistance, because my mom, she didn't have any skills. She was a jazz singer, and we had moved away from her whole area of where she knew musicians and everything. She had to sort of start all over again. with 4 kids by herself, with not
Wow.
much help from my father at all. So it was amazing that at that time she had the foresight to go out and buy me a brand new Martin acoustic guitar, which was like that was food for a month, food and clothes,
Yeah.
you know. And like at the time it was like $400, you know,
Wow.
early 70s, and I just thought, "Ah, I got to get really good at this. If she's going to make this kind of sacrifice for me, then I have to be good."
Yeah.
And so I practiced my ass off. I mean, she would, you know, call me for dinner. I'd bring the guitar to the table, you know, I'd bring the guitar to the bathroom, and you know, I just didn't take it in the shower, but other than that,
It's the only place.
guitar went everywhere with me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Super appreciative. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
And and so you mentioned you have two other siblings. I mean, were they musically
I have
inclined as well? Like
three
three?
of it.
Well, I mean, I know your brother. I mean, you have three siblings.
Oh,
I know three
yeah.
besides you and your brother. Sorry.
John is the bass player,
Yeah.
and my brother Jeff is a drummer of sorts. He's actually a really good drummer, but he doesn't do it professionally. And my sister was a hairstylist, salon owner, and she's sort of sort of retired, and is just kind of relaxing now these days, which is good
Nice.
for her. And
Nice.
taking care of my mom actually, which is not very relaxing.
Well, that's a lot of work for sure, right?
My mom's you know, getting up there, so you know, as all good kids do, we take care of our parents when we can. You know, I have two little ones of my own, so between music and touring and the kids, it's, you know, I have a pretty full life.
It keeps you busy. I know how that goes. Single parent here as well, and yeah, they keep you moving. So yeah. Um, so tell me about your relationship with John. And I mean, you guys have had a lot of different bands together over the years, and kind of just consistently made music together. What is that dynamic been like for you?
You know, it started when we made our first album in the family living room, recorded to a cassette tape player. It was one of the little ones with the speaker built in. It was kind of long, rectangular. It had the little buttons at the front, you know.
Yeah.
And it had a little microphone that came out with a cable, and you could turn the thing on and off. And I learned early on, if you put that inside the guitar and turn it all the way up, you know, you get distortion out of the speaker. So that was one thing I discovered from that. But then we figured out how to record. I wrote all these songs, and we would have to position ourselves around the tape recorder. Like the drummer would get way at the back of the room, and whoever was playing guitar and singing would be right up on the tape machine, you know.
Yeah.
Which would be me and my brother. I actually taught my brother to play drums too, and he's actually a really good drummer, John. And we recorded a lot of the album like that. Probably 20 songs, one of which showed up on
Wow.
our album Linoleum. We had a band called Crown Jewels.
Yeah.
Now there's a song called Peace. It's like a 30-second little ditty on our Linoleum album. So that's where our writing, recording relationship started, and we had, you know, bands all through high school, as you do. You know, play the swim club and the teen center and the high school dances and all that, battle of the bands. And eventually, you know, we went to school together. We were like roommates in college. You know, we both were studying our instruments. You know, like we went to Rutgers University, where they had like a great jazz program. Oh wait, are you hearing yourself? I have my monitor on. Hold on, let me turn that down.
No, I'm good. Yeah, I'm good on my side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we, you know, we went from, you know, loving the Beatles together. Then we went through a serious like Zeppelin period where, you know, we'd even give each other Christmas presents, you know, to Jimmy Page from John Paul Jones, you know, on the, you know, written on the gift tag, you know. And then we went through a heavy like Police phase together where we just both loved the Police, and we wrote songs like that. And then we both got into jazz, and, you know, got scholarships to this university. I was like, hey, who am I to turn down a free education? You know?
You both got scholarships.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Nice.
And we learned with these jazz star New York. You know, they weren't like professor nerd, you know, dudes. They were like, you know, African American New York City jazz stars. Kenny Barron on piano, Ted Dunbar on guitar. They were, you know, well known recording. They worked with Gil Evans. They worked with, you know, our sax band director worked with Thelonious Monk. I mean, it was like they were the real thing. And you know, it wasn't like nerdy studying, like reading out of books. I mean, they did encourage you to read, but most of the stuff I learned was by ear. And I'm still not a great reader. I got out of school and, you know, a good musician by ear. But throw a piece of music in front of me. That's how you get a guitar player to turn down, by the way.
Yeah.
Throw a piece of music in front of them.
Yeah. Turn it down. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we went through that whole phase together. And then when we got out, we both moved to New York City, and then we started Company of Wolves, which was our band on Mercury Records. I think we had a few other failed attempts at, you know, bands trying to get record deals in the late '80s, mid to late '80s, and then yeah, we landed a deal with Mercury, and you know, unfortunately, the timing was, you know, we were about to do a second album. We did a second album with Company Wolves, and Seattle happened.
Yeah.
And everybody wanted to. They flocked to Seattle to sign the next
Oh yeah.
Nirvana, the next Soundgarden, whatever. And they didn't want to know. No record companies wanted to know about a band from New York. So we were like, all right, well, we tried to get re-signed, and it didn't happen. So we broke up the band, and we started our own band, Crown Jewels, I mentioned before, where I was the singer. I wasn't the singer at Company Wolves. It was my friend Keith Brewer.
Sure.
We're still friends with, and we still write with. And so he went his way, we went our way, and we did that band for, let's see, early, probably 93 till 90, about 99, I guess. Yeah, about 7 years. And then we did our last album together, the Contes. Bleed Together was the name of it. It really holds up. It never got the promotion or anything that it should have. I think we could.
Yeah.
It sounds as fresh now as it did then. It's pretty timeless. I think that's what I'm always trying to do with music, is make it timeless. I don't like do trendy stuff, like have rappers and DJs and samples and loops too much. I mean, I might incorporate that little, you know, sparingly from time to time, but you know, if you go put on a, you know, Vanilla Ice record now, it doesn't hold up very well.
Not a lot. No.
So you know, I've always tried to do that. You know, write stuff that could have been, like, I'm gonna get there when I tell you about Bronx Cheer. Actually, you know,
Yeah.
albums that sound like they could have been recorded in 1971, 81, or 2021. You know, rock and roll with real instruments. You know, even young rock bands that come out today, if there are any, and there are a few, you know, that's the stuff they're using. You know, they're using guitars and amps and drums and pianos and vocals. You know, we're not relying on the push button stuff.
Right.
So yeah, so Brother John and I, we did the Contes, and then we just sort of went our separate ways. We just like, okay, you know, we're kind of beating our heads against the wall here. We're not really getting signed or making a living doing this. So he went. What did I do first? I think I went and played with Billy Squire. I went on tour with him, and John played with Ian Hunter, and then Roseanne Cash, and then I went with Willie DeVille, and then he's with Southside Johnny, and I did Paul Simon and the New York Dolls, and then we kind of came back together on my Steve Conte. Then I had a band without him. The first band I ever had without my brother was Steve Conte and the Crazy Truth.
Okay.
2009. That was my own band, and first time I ever like put my name in front of a band. And and then we came back together for the Steve Conte NYC album. He played bass on most of that album. And then, I knew on this new record, I wanted to have, I knew I wanted Charlie Drayton on drums because he's just a killer and
Yeah.
has the groove that I love for especially for these songs. And I knew I wanted my brother on it because not only does he come up with completely inventive stuff on his own, but he also has no ego about, like, if I play him my demo of a song and he hears the bass part that's cool, he'll go, I'm going to play that just like you played it. I said, yeah, okay, we'll play it better.
Yeah.
Like you would play it, but he has no problem with like playing parts that have to be there, So that's sort of our, from childhood to now, in a
Sure.
long-winded way. That was our history right there.
Hey, you keep coming back and you found a sure thing that works for you, right? So, so in '09 when you put your name in front of the band with Crazy Truth, right? So what was that experience like for you? I mean, was there more pressure because it's like this is me, this is my stuff, so solely, or what was
Um,
that like?
Not really. I mean, the other bands I'd done most of the songwriting anyway, and always the lead singing. Actually, John sings 2 songs on that Conte's album,
Mm,
Lead Together, and we co-wrote some of the music on some of the Crown Jewels stuff. But I mean, mostly I've been writing songs since I was 10,
yeah,
and John is actually really coming into his own now as a songwriter. He's working on a solo record now for the first time, so better late than never.
yeah,
He's got a whole different take on, he's not a rocker. His stuff is really sensitive and beautiful and soft and but yet he gets really weird and quirky sometimes too, and like kind of angular, you know, tough way, but not rock. But yeah, I went off the
Are-
rails there with that.
you're good. Are you supporting John's solo album? Like, are you on it at all? Or?
Yeah, we have one song that we wrote together and that has been kicking around for quite a while. I played and sang on it and co-wrote it with him. It's called Sorry Suzanne. It's beautiful.
Nice.
Written about an old lady in his building that he used to wake up, coming up the stairs at all hours of the night, and she'd have to knock on his door and say, "You're waking me up," And he had this, he comes up with these great insights about people, and I think we're similar in that way. Like a lot of my songs are about people too. That's if you ever ask me what's your biggest inspiration, I'm not like a political songwriter. I have a lot of views about political and social things. I tend not to. I might post about them, but I tend not to write songs about them. Although there is one on cleverly disguised, I think, I hope anyway, on Bronx Cheer. But yeah, basically, I write songs about people.
Sure.
Good
Sure.
and bad people.
Yeah. So tell me, let's talk about we'll definitely get to the new album here in just a minute because I have a lot I want to ask you about that. But just briefly, tell me about the New York Dolls and that experience for you being brought into that group and going through your run with New York Dolls.
I got the call. Let's see, it was 2004. I had just finished a tour with Willie DeVille, who was one of my favorite singer-songwriter. He had the band Mink DeVille, came out of the whole CBGB scene in the late 70s with the Ramones, Talking Heads, Television, all those guys. And we had done a run of Europe, and he was getting ready to, he was starting to put his thing together to go back to Europe in 2004, the summer, because that's what he did mainly, was he made his living in the European festivals in the summer. And unfortunately for Willie, but fortunately for me, David Johansen called me like a month before Willie called me and said, do you want to get together and do this thing? and I had committed to him already by that time. By the time Willie called me, but how that happened with David was, if you live in New York City, when you first move here, it seems like this big insurmountable, like, oh my God, the New York music scene. Will I ever, make it? Well, the old Sinatra song comes to mind, New York, New York.
Mhm.
And I think, if you show up and you do a good job and you're not a complete fuck up, and you deliver your talent and you show up on time and you don't give people drama and headaches, and you're really good at what you do, people take note and they pass your name around, and that's what happened. David had asked a couple of respected guitar players in New York, who should I call? I'm thinking of putting the Dolls back together, and everybody said, call Conte. Not just because I was a good player, but I think also probably because the way I looked, big nose, big hair, Italian,
Fit the bill.
Yeah, wouldn't be too out of place in the Thunder spot, I played nothing like Thunders, but and I'd never really listened to Johnny. I wasn't like one of those guys who was like, oh my God, this is my ultimate gig. If you would have, so that's why I kind of stepped into it without much fear about, oh my God, I'm replacing somebody, because it wasn't like hallowed ground. Like if you had asked me to replace Ronnie Wood in the Stones, I'd be like,
Right.
Which I could also do with this nose and this hair.
you can fit that bill too, but there's a little bit more pressure for you, right? So
yeah. So I wasn't thinking like this is a nerve-wracking thing or anything. But he called me up and said, we had lunch. He's invited me to some cafe, and we sat and talked for an hour. He never even heard me play. At the end of the conversation, he was like, here, I took the liberty of making these charts for you and CDs, and he gave me this package. He said, you want to do this gig? It was one gig in London. That was all. Royal Festival Hall, the Meltdown Festival. And I said, yeah, let's do it. So we went over there, and Arthur Kane was still alive, Killer Kane, the bass player, and David Sill and Arthur and me. We did 2 nights there at the Royal Festival Hall, and it was amazing. The reception, and I didn't realize how respected and how popular the Dolls were. I mean, when I was a kid, I knew of them, but I was listening to more like Jeff Beck and Jimi Hendrix and Zeppelin, Richie Blackmore, Deep Purple, and Stones, and I wanted to be like a guitar player, like a garage band thing was not what I was looking to do, right? So but I realized how the punk thing came right out of them. From the Dolls was a direct line to the Ramones and the Clash and the Sex Pistols, and none of that's Pretenders. None of that stuff would have happened without the Dolls, and probably the Stooges and the MC5 and Sonics, maybe, and some other kind of garage bands from America. And when we played the Royal Festival Hall, I went back to the dressing room after the show, and David said, he's like, what'd you think of the show, Stevie? And I was like, oh man, we had a lot of train wrecks on stage. It was really sloppy. He's like, it's the Dolls. It's what people expect. And I was like, okay, I get it now. And I went to the dressing room, and there's Chrissie Hynde, and there's Mick Jones,
wow.
There's Bob Geldof and Shane McGowan, and all these people just like shaking my hand and saying, man, what a great show. And, you kicked ass. And I was like, now I get it.
Yeah.
But these guys, this is where punk rock came from, and suddenly I was in the, in this chair, which I had never, here, I was a kid who grew up on the Beatles, studied jazz for a bit, and now I was playing punk rock. I'm like, what? And in between there, I love the blues and R&B and soul music too. So yeah, it's been a strange path.
How did that time influence your future music that you did solely? What did you take away from that?
Well, I think it definitely the Crazy Truth album was definitely because I made that right while I was in the Dolls. I started making that right after we made that the Pink comeback album. One Day Will Please Us. In
Mhm.
fact, I used Jack Douglas, the producer. I used his sort of setup of my amps as the blueprint for how I was going to record. And like basically on that Dolls album, every solo that you hear that I do, I recorded live on the basic track. It wasn't like, okay, record the band together and now everybody go back in there and replace their parts and get them perfect and then overdub the solos and work it out. Everything was live on my end. Other
Yeah.
people fix their parts, but I like that. I was like, it reminded me, hey, I'm pretty good. I can do this in the studio. I can. I don't need to punch in and get everything, anal, perfect, and I like that. I guess it's a little bit of a sloppy, lazy person in there somewhere that, yeah, it's not just good enough, but that's rock and roll. Because
That's how it is. Yeah.
rock
Yeah.
and roll is a lot of mistakes. I mean, a lot of my favorite records, I'm waiting for that mistake. When I hear, uh, John Lennon go, "Our new love was in vain," on
Right.
and I told you that I would love to love you. What is that? Um, if I fell, if I fell
Okay.
in love with you, Lennon's voice cracks at some point. I'm always waiting for that. I just love that. And there's mistakes on Stones records and Zeppelin records, and but when you grow up, uh, well, I came through like a bit of a studio thing at a certain point in New York before, in between like Company of Wolves and the Dolls. That was like 1990 till 2004. It was like about 15 years there, where I didn't really. I was making a living doing studio work. I did all this Japanese anime stuff that I'm sure we'll probably talk about in a minute.
Yeah.
Uh, and I was doing commercials and film soundtracks and TV stuff. And people are paying big money for studio time, and you got to get in there. You got to get it right the first time. People have no patience for you fucking up while they're watching the clock. So this was a good reminder to get back to the essence of rock and roll, which was keep it loose, leave some mistakes. And so that was like when I did the Crazy Truth record. That was definitely influenced by my experience with Dolls, and like I said, Jack Douglas had set up my amps. He'd set up the Marshall. I have a Plexi, 67 Plexi, pre-top boost, 62 Vox AC30, and I had an Ampeg reverb rocket with like tremolo and reverb, right, for like surfy stuff like my song Gypsy Cab. And I had like a switcher between them, and I would always like be recording out of two amps at once. It was in stereo, and it was live. I lay down the track. We get to the solo. I step on an overdrive box, play the solo, step in the overdrive box, back to rhythm. And I left a lot of stuff like that. I left all that stuff. Rarely would I overdub a rhythm guitar track on that even. And so that was definitely came out of my Dolls influence. And it was very a dirty New York City record based on my, at that point, 25 about 25 years of living in the city and knowing the city very well and all the trouble you can get into, and so and I think it's something that will remain a part of me because now I'm back in touch with that. I remember one of my friends, a great blues guitarist, going, all that studying, all that practicing, and you end up in a punk rock band. And then
Yeah.
he goes, the punk rock band. I said, yeah, that's right. So yeah, I'm grateful for the opportunity and the experience of that, and that'll stay with me. There's definitely some influence on the new album too, of not Dolls per se, maybe, but just the rough edged energy, leaving the rough edges.
Yeah. 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 Let's
Embracing
talk.
embracing the slop.
You gotta do it. There's, the imperfections are part of what make it perfect, right? So yeah, yeah, for sure. So let's talk about the new album, Bronx Cheer. It comes out on the 5th. So the cool thing about this album, I mean, there's a lot I want to hit on, but let's start kind of at the top and kind of where you started with this, because you partnered with Andrew Hollander, and I know you sent him like 50 songs, to start with for this album for him to go through. So what state were these songs in? Where did you just kind of send him a lot of stuff you've been working on? Was a lot of it written, some recorded? Where were you at with that when you started?
Some of them, I think, because I make albums so infrequently, but I write all the time. I have a constant like backlog of material to go back to, and now that we're in the digital age, so much easier to find stuff. Like I used to have to go through. I have boxes of cassettes. I'd be like,
oh my gosh,
where's that idea? I mean, I have shoe boxes.
Do you have a cassette player?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, because
it's not plugged in.
I tell you, I feel the same way. Like I've been
I have one.
Nice.
There are some ideas on this, but this tape is like halfway used. I've just started using my 10 years ago, I started using my iPhone memos.
Yeah.
And that's, synced up to the cloud. And so I never lose anything. I can find I even do all my lyrics on my notepad here. So if I'm like out and I want to add to a song, it's in my phone already, as long as I can get to some, hotspot or not even, just the phone lines.
Because I'm the same, right? Like, so I've been interviewing bands since I was a kid. I'm probably like 18, and I have boxes in my garage of like SVHS tapes and mini DV tapes from interviews, back in the day, and like I don't even really have a way to play them, but I can't get rid of them, right? Because it's a piece of the history, So
and someday you'll digitize them, which is what I say about my sets too, because somewhere buried in those, there's like little genius gems in there somewhere. I'm sure there's a lot of shit too. There's a lot of crap, but someday I'll go through it all. Maybe
one day
when I'm 80 and I'm too late to do anything with them. So anyway, the core of the album, which has happened to me with a couple albums, is usually like I have like a handful of new tunes, right?
Yeah.
I really want to get these tunes together, and what else do I have that goes with them? Like I think the only album I ever wrote 10 new songs for was Linoleum by my band Crown Jewels with my brother. And I wrote them in like a weekend, so it has a real cohesive thing to it. But so that's it. I'm always trying to like get a cohesive package of songs that work well. Like, well, we really need, something slow because it's like 5 fast songs in a row here. And I mean, I don't necessarily sequence it while I'm writing it, but I know I usually want at least 10 songs, between 8 and 12 songs,
Sure.
So I had 3 new songs for this album. I had Wildwood Moon, I had Dog Days of Summer, and I had Those Sexy Lies. Out of the 50 that I gave Andy, the poor guy, to listen to. At first, we were going to make 2 albums. We were going to make 2 like 10-song albums, 20 songs. And then I just, didn't have the money for it. It was like, okay, we just have to take the best of these 2 and put them together, or we're going to make like an Americana album and a rock and roll album, like more of a singer-songwriter album and more of a band album. And I think we combined, I think we maybe took a couple off the singer-songwriter thing, like maybe Flying was one of those. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the other songs are from, Flying is from the 90s.
94, and Guilty from back in 94 also, right? Yeah.
You've done your homework there.
I do my homework.
Guilty is from 94. So is Overnight Smash.
Okay.
but Guilty never had a demo done of it. I had like a cassette, of our band Crown Jewels playing it. We never recorded it. Overnight Smash, same thing. Flying, the same thing. I had done a 8-track cassette recording of that demo of that, and then I demoed it up here at home before the album. Liar Like You was a chorus I had floating around in my head since high school.
Yeah.
With different lyrics. I had the Liar Like You part, but the rest of it was a bunch of gibberish.
So tell me about that. So you're how do you hold on to it? It just is stuck with you this whole time, this many years later? Like,
yeah, I've don't ask me the name of somebody I met last night, but I can remember, a song, melody from, 15 years old,
yeah,
when I was 15 years old.
that's awesome.
I remembered never seen a lie like you. I was like, never seen a lie like you, motherfucker. Never seen a lie like you, motherfucker. And then I said, maybe I don't need to say motherfucker, but that just stuck in my head. I don't know why. A lot of other things have escaped, but that one got trapped. What else? Recovery Doll was the song that I presented to both New York Dolls and Michael Monroe, and they both passed on it. Go figure.
Yeah.
It's the song they play most on Underground Garage now.
Yeah.
It was my green glow in the dark single. I don't know if you saw that.
I didn't know.
Oh, let me see if I have one. Well, I think they're all boxed up, but yeah, okay. It's really great artwork with and the actual 45 itself. I still have some of them. Is glow in the dark green, really cool. But
nice.
Yeah, I mean, one man's junk is another man's treasure, So, a lot of times, I know that it can be. I hear it in my head. I know that it can be something, but other people don't have the vision, and so I just have to go do it myself, and then they might go later, oh, why didn't we get that song? I go, hey, I gave you that. I offered.
Hey, you had a chance.
So, yeah, but that's kind of the way that my albums come together. The NYC, Steve Conte NYC album was similar. Also, I had songs that some were new and some were 10, 20 years old,
Yeah.
But like I said before, I don't write trendy music, so it doesn't matter when it was written, All that matters is it's a good song. It's a good melody, good chord changes, and a lyric that's, not stupid and not, dated, like I have some really good old songs that are about, stuff that was happening at the time. Like when I was a kid, I was writing about something about Watergate. I remember, I was like, okay, would I ever put that song? Sometimes
it's a little dated, yeah.
Yeah, so I tend not to write, stuff about like who's in, power and politics now or something, naming things and people and places to make it, universal, where 50 years from now some kid will listen to it. Yeah. Like Stevie Wonder, when Stevie Wonder wrote You Haven't Done Nothing, you know that song? It's about Nixon, but he never says Nixon's name,
No.
He's like, we're all amazed but not amused by everything you said you do. Could be about anyone, anytime, but we happen to know it's about Nixon.
You just got to know. Yeah, exactly.
And it could be about, your lover, it could be about anybody, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's what it means to you, right? So
yeah.
So tell me about bringing in Clem Burke from Blondie and Andy Rourke from the Smiths. You have them on the album a little bit too.
Yeah, well, they did "Gimme Gimme Rockaway," which was actually a single for Wicked Cool Records that I did back in 2017. Mm-hmm. And then when I was making this record, Steven Van Zandt, who owns the label and sort of oversees everything, picks the songs, and I mean, I had the record done already. Bronx Cheer was finished, and I gave him the whole album. I said, I'm going to put this out myself. Are you interested? and he listened to it and he said, "Yeah, it's great. I want to put it out, but you should put Rockaway on." I went, "Really? It's 3 years old now." It's like, "Doesn't matter." I'm like, "Yeah, you're right." So because it was never available on an album, so now it is, and I remastered it so it fits in nicely with the sound of this record. But I knew that back then when I was doing that record, I had a great band here in New York. I had Phil Stewart, my drummer, who I've been playing with since Crazy Truth. And I was kind of, the bass chair was revolving. I had my brother in sometimes. I had Keith Christopher from Dan Baird's Homemade Sin. He was at Georgia Satellites, was his band. He's with Skinner now. He was playing with me, and my brother John was sometimes. But I knew, if I'm going to do this record for Van Zandt and his label and Underground Garage going to get behind it and play it, I want to do something different, something a little special, something we can talk about, and I had been playing with Clem in various situations. So I just said, "Hey, Clem, you want to come down and play on this thing?" And he said, "Yes, of course." And I asked Andy Rourke, same thing, and really no big story to it,
Yeah.
When you live in New York, I mean, I would see these guys, I had to run into Andy Rourke at an art gallery, Bowie art gallery, for a Bowie photographer, actually, this Japanese guy, and we sort of reconnected. I met him on a radio. He was hosting a radio show, and I was substitute DJing for Steve Lillywhite, the producer. I took his radio slot, and I met Andy on that East Village radio. So, we knew each other, and it's like when you know each other, you're, the big, scary, big bad city when you're a kid from far away, just becomes a little small, scene of people that you know. So, that's how I got those guys.
So a couple of things before we wrap, and dig the album, by the way. So one of your most proud moments, I think, was getting to play with Chuck Berry, right? Tell me about that.
My mom, the jazz singer, had worked with this trumpet player who was the musical director of all the musical events that took place at the Meadowlands in New Jersey. The racetrack, and of course the stadium. But Chuck was going to play at the racetrack there. And this trumpet player was like, he would do the bugle before the races. And but he also booked all the entertainment. So he booked Chuck Berry, and I had done gigs with him and my mom too. And so, part of the deal with Chuck is you book him a band. And at the time, we had this blues band called the Hudson River Rats. We played every Wednesday night at this place called the Acme Bar and Grill in the Village for 2 years. It was this big, successful blues night. All these people came down to play with us. Willie DeVille and Joe Hansen and Julian Lennon and Cyndi Lauper and Carole King, Phoebe Snow. They all came and sang with us, and it was a great band. So when he called me, he said, "Hey, Steve, Chuck's going to come, and will you put a band together?" I said, "I got the band at the Hudson River Rats." So he books us, and then he picks Chuck up from the airport, and Chuck asks him, "Who's my band tonight?" He says, "Oh, it's the Conte brothers and their band. John, great bass player, Steve on guitar." He goes, "Guitar? I don't use no other guitar player." And Frankie, the trumpet player, he says, "Oh, don't worry." He said, Steve he's really good. He can lay back. And Chuck says, I'll give him one song. If he ain't happy, I'm gonna throw him off the stage." So, I laid way back, and, I think Chuck really appreciated that, and started giving me solos on stage. And I'm not gonna go through the whole story, but it's pretty amazing. And I got the whole thing on film.
Oh, that's awesome.
Someday I'm gonna cut it up and put the videos up on YouTube. But Still haven't done that yet, but
Hey.
it's it's the most amazing experience you know of my life. I guess something I can tell my grandkids if I ever have, I'm lucky enough to be around to see them.
Yeah.
It's the guy who invented guitar rock and roll, and I spent a night with him. It was incredible.
Yeah.
Just getting to play all those classic songs with him. And he popped his high E string right on Johnny Be Good at the intro.
Did he? Oh my gosh.
That's the first solo I ever learned in my life when I was 13. And so
Yeah.
all I was thinking through the whole song was, what's going to happen when he gets to that middle break?
Uh-huh.
And, and Johnny Be Good points to me.
Uh-huh.
And that's the moment, right? That's the best moment of my life right there.
Oh, you're ready. I'd love to see that video. That'd be awesome. Yeah. Yeah. What a cool memory though, huh?
Best musical moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was when my son was born.
Oh, of course. Of course. You can't beat that one, right? So and so to wrap, I mean, you've been playing forever. I'm interested in I'd like to hear what is a memorable show out here in the Bay Area that you've done, or a place that you've played. If you could share a memory.
I love playing the Fillmore.
Yes, thank you. Okay, we have another hour on the Fillmore, so it's my favorite place of all time. There's so much energy, and I mean,
it was incredible. I played there with the Dolls maybe twice, at least once. Yeah, it was just, I felt the history in there, the sense of history, and just walk around that room upstairs and look at all the posters, and Zappa, and I wasn't a Grateful Dead fan, but of course a lot of that, but Sly and Family Stone. I mean, come on, that's some of my favorite stuff. So that was probably my favorite Bay Area show that I can think of. I think I played up there also with Billy Squier, but it was like an amphitheater. It was probably like some bank had been renamed into the Barclays whatever center, or so that didn't have nearly the vibe. Yeah, I mean the Fillmore, that's the vibe right there.
It's very sad. You can't beat it, really.
I mean, I played some clubs too, but the Stone, I think I played. Is that a place? The Stone?
I'm trying to remember. I'm not sure. I'm not.
I would be talking probably before you were born, though.
Probably. I can't speak to it if it was before I was born.
1990?
I was born before 90, so give me some credit there. So not too far before 90, but you far enough where, I mean, I wasn't going to concerts then, let me say. So.
Yeah, that was, the Stone, I believe.
Okay.
A big place. Yeah, nothing beats the Fillmore.
No, I agree.
And I love that once I drove up from LA, I just had the hankering to drive a convertible up the Pacific Coast Highway. So I rented a convertible. I flew to LA from New York, rented a convertible Mustang, and drove up and had all these adventures, like all the way up to San Francisco from LA, and it was amazing. So I love that part of the country.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope you guys stay safe with all the fires and crazy stuff.
Well, we're good for this year. One more year off. I mean, because we got crazy storms this week. I mean, it was pouring on Sunday, like insane, and amounts. So I think we're good for this year. We made it through another year, but I mean, each year you don't know, right? And we just need more rain. So send it this way. Well, Steve.
May you get it.
Thank you. And I want to thank you for taking the time. I really appreciate our chat today. And
thank you, man. My pleasure. Anytime. Please, tag me in it, and
I will.
And let me say to your listeners and watchers, thanks. And you can find me online at all the usual places: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. It's either Steve Conte or Steve Conte NYC.
Nice.
Any of those places. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. YouTube. I have my own YouTube channel. I put out 3 videos from this album, Bronx Cheer so far. I have 4 singles have been out, but 3 videos. Wicked Cool Records is the label. Also on Bandcamp. You can find the records on their Bandcamp page. There are signed copies of the vinyl on my Bandcamp page. Yeah. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, and so I can put up more awesome stuff. And I have a website too, stevecontenyc.com. So visit
and stay and listen to the new music. And I mean, it sounds like you got stuff already ready, working up for obviously the new Michael album, but also your, down the road, your, more solo stuff to come, of course. Right. So.
Yep. And this Friday I'm doing my album release party.
Release show.
Any of your watchers are in the New York area, Friday, October 29th at 7 p.m. I'm going to be at the Cutting Room, New York City. When does this come out?
This will be out tomorrow. So.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
So New Yorkers, New Jerseyans, Connecticut people, even Pennsylvanians, you can make it in. Come on.
Make the trek. It's worth it. Come on. Live music is back, right? We got to get out to shows. It was gone for so long, and it's great to have it back again. So
almost 2 years of well, not inactivity, but I was keeping busy at home the whole time doing musical and non-musical stuff. But
I'm sure in all your years you never had that long of a period without going to or performing a concert, right?
I mean, since I was 13,
yeah.
Even when I was 13, 14 years old, I had at least 10 gigs in a year,
yeah,
or 5. Yeah. I never went 2 years without 1 gig.
It's insane. Yeah,
I'm glad that it's coming back.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Steve, stay safe. Good luck with the new album and in Finland as well. And we'll be hearing great stuff from you soon. Okay.
Thanks, Steve. Take care.
Thank you.
Cheers.
That was the interview with Steve Conte here on Concert Pipeline. And Jens, that takes us to the final segment on the program.
Well, let me tell you what that segment is. It's a segment where we talk about what's going on in the world of music today, which we call Music News.
Yes, that is right. All right. I have a couple stories to wind us out here. Jens, this one is interesting. This seems like a lot. People are ready to get back to concerts, right? I mean, they want to go to shows. Well, one of the bands that's selling a shit ton of tickets, Coldplay. Yes, I said it.
Yes,
Chris Martin and his cojones.
That's right, Chris Martin, his gang of Coldplay badasses, and I've been seeing him all over the news. It's like they're really hyping this show up.
Yeah, well, their eco-friendly jaunt includes 6 dates at Wembley Stadium. 6 dates there. And I'll tell you how many tickets he sold across Europe. Over 1 million. 1 million concert tickets. Yeah.
Not 1 million concerts.
No, that would be quite a lot of concerts. So it was, let's see here. It's a 20-date run that kicks off on July 2nd, 2022. So this is for next year. It'll also take in US and Latin America across 40 stadiums for dates, which have completely sold out. It's insane. Selling out a stadium with 50,000 tickets or something like that, right? And it's sold out 40 of them. This is something
that's absolutely crazy. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, one of the things you got to remember is that I think stadiums in Europe are smaller than the stadiums that are here. Like the football stadiums here, I think maybe are more like 75,000, but I think the football, like soccer stadiums in Europe are a little smaller. But dude, those numbers are staggering.
Yeah. So it seems like one of the guys that put this together isn't around anymore. So the two guys, Josh Javar and the late Steve Strange, who died last month, put this tour together, which is crazy because so Steve and Josh, had planned this for a very long time, and Steve isn't here to revel in the success of it, which is bittersweet to Javar. He says, "Don't get me wrong, I'm ecstatic how well it's done, but the fact that Steve unfortunately didn't make it to see our plan come together brings things down to earth. Normally, Steve and I would get to 12 o'clock on the day of an on sale, and after selling 1 million tickets, we'd be on our second bottle of champagne. But on your own, it's not the same. My constant thought has been, I wish Steve was here to see this. He would be on another planet. He was a member of the family when it came to this band, and he would be jumping for joy. Steve Strange died at the age of 53 after a short illness in September, and Coldplay were amongst a host of bands who paid tribute to the beloved booking agent." Yeah, so the band said that they were devastated by the news of his passing, and said that had spent a bittersweet hour with Mr. Strange shortly before his death. So despite his illness, he was still taking calls and watching ticket counts, they wrote.
Wow.
So he's supporting the band, and he will be playing at Levi's Stadium on April 23rd, 2022.
Yeah, that's going to come around real quick. I mean, it seems like, oh my gosh, that's next year. That's, 4th month, but that's going to be just around the corner. And let's hope there's no crazy resurgence of some virus, coronavirus variant, and we can enjoy that show.
Hopefully. Jens, you got a story for us?
Yes, I got a story for us about Ed. Would you like to hear about it?
Ed, what is Ed's last name?
Yeah, you have to put me on the spot, right? You have to.
People don't know Ed.
There's just one Ed. Who else?
There's just one Ed.
Who else in music is named Ed? Oh shit! Yeah, you're right. Okay. Yeah, Ed Sheeran.
Okay. Sheeran.
Okay. It's well known that I cannot pronounce people's names worth shit. Ed, if you're listening, which I'm sure you're not, no disrespect at all to you or your family name.
Sounds pretty disrespectful to not pronounce.
I know it does, but it was seriously no disrespect. I'm talking about you on this show. That's pure respect. Enough. But I know that the house of Sheeran, goes back many freaking years.
The house of what?
I do not want Sheeran.
Ed Sheeran, yes. Got it. Good.
This guy tests positive for the coronavirus, which means he won't, which may mean, not a definitive, which
not
may
definitive,
mean,
there's a time to say thing.
Right, that he won't perform on the upcoming SNL episode.
That's a big deal because it's supposed to be this weekend, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's coming up.
Who would go and get COVID right before they get on SNL? Who would do that?
I know, dude. Like, what the hell? Was that on his agenda? I'll get COVID, just so I don't have to deal with Saturday Night Live because I hate it. Was that his thought process?
Yeah, that's probably how that works, right?
Yeah. Okay, so what can we say about this? So he announced this on Instagram. That he tested positive, and he is appropriately self-isolating.
Good.
And he says, quote, "Hey guys, quick note to tell you that I've sadly tested positive for COVID. So I'm now self-isolating and following government guidelines," unquote. And he posted that just this last Sunday, so just a few days ago, while we were having our crazy bomb of a storm. So it means that I am now unable to plow ahead with any in-person commitments for now. So I'll be doing as many of my planned interviews, performances that I can do from my house. Apologies to anyone I've let down. Be safe.
Okay.
Hugs and kisses. Okay. But he, he's working on a 4th upcoming studio album, solo.
Yeah, and Ben Kweller, an artist that I'm really a big fan of and has been on Concert Pipeline, he co-wrote a song on this upcoming album, Equals, that Ed Sheeran put out. So pretty exciting stuff. Yeah,
and Equals, like, not spelled out equals, but the equal sign.
the equal sign's there too, right? In case you don't know.
In case you're not familiar with how he does his albums, yeah.
Well,
Titles
you know,
of the equal sign.
this episode of Saturday Night Live, you know, the lesser famous Culkin brother is hosting it, so I don't think it's a big loss for Ed Sheeran to not be there necessarily.
What are you saying? Macaulay Culkin has a brother?
Yes, and he has a sister. I mean, there are other Culkins in the business. Kieran Culkin is the host of Saturday Night Live. So, shit. Yeah, shit. So NBC hasn't announced who's going to be replacing yet. So it's going to be coming up pretty closely, I imagine, right?
Yep. Well, I mean, let's wish him all the best. You know,
we do for sure.
Let's hope he recovers and you know, he establishes this amazing freaking immune system where he never gets it again, and his DNA can cure other people.
Okay, Jens, I have one story to finish us out, and then it's pizza time. And
I am so jonesing for pizza.
Steve Jones.
See what he did there?
Yeah,
Steve Jones. Yeah. I'm sure you've never heard that joke before.
Never. No, that's the first one.
What you got?
This is about Dave Grohl, of course.
Who?
So, yes, Mr. Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters. So this
never heard of him.
This is really cool. Dave Grohl, he's an incredible dad, right? He's in his book Storytellers he just put out. One of the stories that he talked about was flying from Australia to LA to go to a daddy-daughter dance, leaving the daddy-daughter dance, flying back to Australia to finish the tour. He had moved to one of the dates in Australia 2 days to be able to make it happen. You know, a stadium date that was sold out and you know, incredible, right? Well, Jens, his daughter Violet joined the band X on stage to sing Nausea. And Violet and the Foo Fighters had released a cover of that song earlier this year. Last week, Violet went on stage with the 1980s band the veteran punk band to sing their 1980s track Nausea. There's video of it online, and this was at the Greek Theater in LA. Which is a pretty big audience for
that's a pretty awesome place.
I haven't been. Have you been there?
Oh yeah, I've been there. It's pretty freaking fantastic for anyone that can ever has an opportunity to see, you know, one of the favorite bands of that venue. Go, it's kick ass.
Yeah, I've been to the Greek here in Berkeley a handful of times, a good number of times, but haven't made it to the one down in LA yet. But they brought out Violet and so she sang the song. Let's see here. So Grohl had revealed that X's drummer, DJ Bonebreak, was actually a distant relative of his, which in turn inspired the cover. So he said that I then had an idea that elaborated even further on the concept of inspiration and family lineage that I'm so fascinated with. I wanted to record a song that would not only pay tribute to the people and music that influenced me to become a musician, but also to pay tribute to my long family history. He shared on his Dave's True Story page. And so what better song than an X song? And what better person to sing it than my daughter, Violet Grohl, another descendant of Johann Christian Beinbrecht. You know, and
pronounce that? Johann Christian Beinbrecht.
Yeah,
it sounds like an angry German when you pronounce it.
I know, is that German or what? So I don't know.
Yeah.
But let's listen to just a segment of this. Let's see if we can hear any of it. You know what? I don't know that accentuates her singing abilities that well, because I've seen her sing with her dad. You know, I've seen video of that, and it's incredible. She has a great singing voice.
I agree with you. I think that's you know, it's all right, but not the pivotal example of how badass she can be.
Right, I agree. So, but I look forward to seeing many more performances from her in the future, and I would buy a ticket to a Violet Grohl show.
I would
see her perform you know.
Yeah.
Um,
I
in
would
the
even
off
go
chance
if it was
that
sold out and I didn't have a ticket.
you would just go, yeah.
I'd hang out
Yeah.
in the parking lot or whatever.
Sometimes you go to shows that are sold out without a ticket. Remember Juliet?
Oh my God.
Luckily, your buddy Steve got you
Juliet
into
Lewis
that
in
show.
Berkeley.
Uh-huh.
Yes. That was a fun show.
It was.
That was
Luckily,
a
you
fun show.
got
My
to see it
buddies.
from the inside of the venue because you
I
didn't have a
did.
ticket. You just walked up, and luckily, I was, with the band and was able to get you on the guest list. At the exact right moment. You walked up at the exact right moment. Luckily, because otherwise you wouldn't have been in.
The stars were aligned. Like, it takes me like an hour to get there. And I'm like, whatever, I'm gonna hang out with Steve, and if I can get in and see Juliet Lewis, awesome, because she rocks as an actress, and I'm sure she totally rocks as a musician. So
you saw
it worked.
Yeah. So, all right, that is our show for today. So, thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it. Subscribe to the program. Like us on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff. For all of us here at Concert Pipeline, first of all, happy Halloween. Be safe. And that is Jens Schiffel.
And that is Steve fucking Jones.
See you next time.
It's pizza time.